My name's Mara Mason. If you've ever had a breaker blow or a wire fry in Elm Wood, odds are I'm the one who fixed it. At least, that's what everyone keeps telling me. The strange part is, I don't actually remember ever applying for this job. No interview, no first day, not even a memory of moving here. People in town say I've been their electrician for 15 years, but whenever I try to remember what I was doing before that, before Elm Wood, I get nothing, just static, and not the fuzzy TV kind either. I mean the kind that gets into your skull, the kind that feels alive, like it's chewing on your thoughts. I live above Hendrix Hardware. My truck's always parked out front, tools lined up in the cab like some kind of still life painting of a woman slowly losing her mind. Every morning is exactly the same. Coffee from the diner. The one next to the hairdressers, not the one further down the street that's co-owned by that Jordan twat. They've actually got a demogatory on the counter now. You can't even order a slice of cake in there without it insulting your weight. Mrs. Patterson waves from her porch like she's in a Hallmark movie. And there's always a neat stack of work orders slipped under my door, all in my handwriting, even though I have no memory of writing them. The mayor swears I rewired City Hall during the blackout of '09. Kids shout my name when I drive past, like I'm some kind of mascot. It's like I've been stitched into Elmwood's memory, even if I've been erased from my own. And lately, it's getting worse. The lights on Maple Street started flickering in a pattern. 3 short, 2 long, 3 short. Street lamps dim when I walk under them, then brighten again behind me, like some kind of reverse spotlight. I mentioned it to Dangerous Derek. He's a jackalope who runs the only DVD shop in town. Alphabetizes his horror section by emotional impact, if you can believe that. He told me the pattern was Morse code. Apparently it meant SOS. Then he grinned and said, or it used to. Around here, it might mean something else entirely. I get called out for outages. But by the time I got there, everything was fine. Sometimes outlets hummed in a way that almost sounded conversational. Once I found a loop of copper wire on someone's floor, twisted into a shape I later learned was a protection sigil. At least I think it was for protection. If anyone knows what this means, imagine a figure 8, but one loop is sharp and jagged. Please tell me. Then there were the call-outs. The first one that stuck with me was the Keating place. Mrs. Keating met me in the driveway, arms folded, glaring at her own kitchen like it had personally wronged her. By the time we got inside, I saw why. Every single burner on her oven was going full blast, racks shoved halfway out glowing red. When I unplugged the thing, the cord shivered, like it didn't want to let go. She told me it all started a week earlier, right after a courier dropped off a crate she swore she never ordered. And inside that crate was one of those things, a demogatory. Same kind of creature Morgan Morrow carts around like it's a rescue animal, except Mrs. Keating's wasn't tame. It was pulling tricks on her. Tools vanishing, water boiling in the middle of the night. That sort of thing. She finally managed to lure it into the oven and slam the door shut. Thought she'd trapped it for good. But when she woke up the next morning, the demogatory was gone. No sign of it anywhere. That's what they're called, by the way. Small, fluffy little lesser demons some idiot has been mailing around town like they're subscription boxes. Morgan Morrow, the delivery driver, has one herself, treats hers like it's a pet, and I've heard that once you get one, you can't get rid of it. I ran into her a couple days later and told her about the Keating house. She just shrugged and said she was sorting it, which is strange because last I checked, she's a delivery driver, not a demonologist. Next was the Thompson place. I got a call at 10 at night about flickering lights at the Thompson house. Problem is, the Thompson house burned to the ground a few years ago, made the papers. The boy lit the fire himself, took his parents out with it. The site is creepy in the daytime. At night, forget it. All that's left is a blackened foundation and a few charred beams sticking up like broken teeth. But Elmwood calls, you answer, even when it doesn't make sense. So I drove out there, and what do I see sitting in the middle of the rubble? A lamp, just an old brass lamp with a crooked shade, plugged into absolutely nothing, and it was glowing like it had been switched on for hours. I stepped closer and saw something wrapped around the stem. A doll, made from rope and twine, head cocked against the light like it was basking in it. I'd seen one of those before. Avery's gran made them. I'm not saying she's a witch, but let's just say she doesn't exactly crochet for the church fair. She only makes those dolls for people she thinks deserve them. The Thompsons had one right before the fire. As I reached for the plug that wasn't there, the lamp went out. When it came back on, the doll was gone. Then there was the Holloway job. Mrs. Holloway said her hallway light wouldn't turn off. When I got there, the bulb was missing, socket completely empty, still glowing. She kept chattering while I checked the wiring, not about the light, about how she sometimes gets ideas she can't shake. The breaker box looked like someone had been playing arts and crafts in there. Every wire was braided together, tight as rope. And then I noticed her toaster sitting in the bathroom sink, plugged in. She saw me staring and said, "I just felt like making toast in there." She admitted she knew it wasn't the best idea, but her derogatory told her it was fine. And she was so used to getting nothing but abuse from it that a single bit of praise was enough. I ended up staying for coffee, not because I wanted to, but because I didn't trust leaving her alone. While I was there, she cut me a slice of cake. Then, right in the middle of eating, she casually stabbed herself in the hand with the butter knife. I jumped out of my chair and yelled, "Why?" And she just chuckled, said, "Oh, I don't know." Her derogatory piped up from the counter.
"She's just practicing."
That's when it hit me how many of these damn things I'd started seeing around town, like some angry new trend nobody asked for, but everyone gets stuck with anyway. The Elmwood version of Crocs. I started keeping a mental weird call top 5 list. Number 5, Ricky's Rockin' Roadside Recovery. Ricky, Big Yeti, runs the roadside recovery place out by the Whispering Woods. Called me about a slow drain on his building's power. Every meter in the place was spiking, then dipping, like something was sipping electricity instead of using it. Problem was, every time the dip happened, the lights in the tree line flickered too. Ricky swore something's been hanging out in the woods lately. Didn't see it, but every time the drain happens, his guard dog hides under the counter and won't come out until the lights stop buzzing. Number 4, the Fenwick Farm, Old Fenwick's place. He's a werewolf, decent bloke, sells eggs and lamb at the Saturday market. He said his power cuts out like clockwork, same time every Thursday. Every time it happens, 3 of his sheep go missing. No blood, no tracks, just gone. He swears he's not the one eating them. "I'd remember," he said, and honestly, I believe him. Number 3, Hollow Pine Crates. The mill out on Hollow Pine Road called me in. They're a woodworking shop, normally make barrels and furniture, but lately there's been a sudden demand for a very specific crate. Small, narrow, heavy duty. They've tripled production and still can't keep up. The saws keep tripping breakers, even after I upgraded the wiring. I asked who's ordering them, and they just said special clients near the woods. One of the guys swears he heard scratching from inside an empty crate. They laughed it off. I didn't. Number 2, the Holloway house. Mrs. Holloway called again, said there was a funny smell coming from her bedroom lamp. When I got there, I found she'd rewired it herself. Badly. Wires twisted into a braid, socket jammed with tin foil. She admitted she'd been trying to make it brighter. Said it gets too quiet at night, and the light makes her feel less alone. Her derogatory was sitting on the dresser, tail flicking. When I asked if it helped, it said,
"Sure, like a seatbelt helps a plane crash."
She didn't even flinch, just smiled and offered me tea. Number 1, the Glassford Ghost, old boarding house near the river. Owner swore the place was haunted, but wanted me to check the electrics so she could tell guests it was just faulty wiring. Every time I touched the breaker, the air went cold, lights dimmed, and on the wall next to me, a shadow stretched long and thin until it didn't look human anymore. I left without finishing the job. Next day, she called to say a guest had vanished overnight. All that was left in his bed was the imprint of someone still lying there. A week ago, I tried to leave town, packed my truck, took the old highway. Every road curved back toward Main Street. Signs changed when I wasn't looking. 1 minute North Bend, the next Elm Wood, 1 mile. That's when I went through my work orders. 15 years worth, all in my handwriting. Some were dated before I was born, some were dated 10 years from now. Elmwood doesn't just keep you here, it rewires you. And the worst part was, once I realised that, it was like the town realised I knew. Things started happening more often, late night calls, stranger jobs, addresses that don't exist on any map. One of them came last week, coordinates scribbled in my handwriting. That's how I ended up in the Whispering Woods, staring at a house that looked like it didn't want to be seen. It wasn't a home, it wasn't even a proper ruin. It was somewhere between the two. The kind of place you drive past and say, well, that can't be up to code. Crumbling stone walls bowing outward, a roof line so crooked it looked like it had been sketched by a drunk architect. Gutters sagging, heavy with rot and rain. The windows were the worst part, all blacked out from the inside. Tin foil pressed right up against the glass, trying to keep the world out but the conspiracy theorists in. The whole place didn't look lived in. And beside it, a long, low shed. Fresh planks, not weathered like the house, stacked high with crates, all stamped with little stickers I couldn't quite read. Small, narrow, heavy-duty. Too many of them. Way too many. You'd need half the town moving furniture to justify that many crates. I was still counting them when the door creaked open, and out walked Jordan. Jordan fucking Johnson. Standing there, smug as ever, grinning like he'd just won a raffle I didn't know I'd been entered into.
"Come in,"
he said, cheerful, rehearsed, like he'd been practicing the line in a mirror all week. Inside looked worse than outside. The wallpaper was stripped in places, and what was left had curled into yellow curls like old skin. Every wall plastered with diagrams that didn't make sense, circles and wires and words that looked like sermons written by an electrician who'd had a nervous breakdown, circuitry scrawled like scripture, and in the corner, humming like a beehive, sat a machine. Tall, angular, pipes feeding into it, wires trailing like veins into the floor. It didn't belong here. Hell, it didn't belong anywhere. The whole house already looked like it had exploded 50 years ago and then been eaten by plants that decided to settle in and finish the job. Jordan stood with his hands behind his back, all smug schoolteacher posture, and gestured at the thing like he was unveiling a science fair project. Said he wanted me to wire it in. Now, here's the kicker. He'd built it himself. Every pipe, every panel, every scribbled rune-looking diagram on the wall was his, but apparently even Jordan fucking Johnson, king of bad ideas, still respected one universal law. If you don't have a licensed electrician wire it in, your house insurance won't pay out when it inevitably explodes. Which honestly was rich. The man was standing in a tin-foiled paranoia palace that already looked like it had exploded once, and he was worried about his premiums. His tone was casual, but the way he said project had that cultish edge. Not like he was building circuits, more like he was building a sermon. I told him it was out of my league. Too high-tech to have ended up in Elm Wood by accident. And that's when it happened. I turned to leave and the floor gave out under me. I fell straight through, hitting stinging cold metal. A heavy metallic clash followed by a hiss signalled the lid sealing above me. My head filled with a painful static and I passed out. When I came to, I was in a box. Not one of those hollow pine jobs you see stacked out by the mill. This was different. Theirs are rough splintered wood, cheap hinges, slapped together with more nails than sense. This one was clean, seamless. The walls felt smooth under my palms, like polished bone or steel. It didn't smell like wood either. It smelled like ozone and damp earth packed tight. And the space wasn't right. Too narrow to sit down properly, but too tall to touch the ceiling. Built to keep me exactly uncomfortable. Then I noticed the hum, low, steady, vibrating through the walls, the same frequency as Jordan's machine. Whatever this was, it wasn't just a crate, it was wired in. I pressed my hands flat to the walls and shouted, "This will void your insurance, Jordan!" From the dark, the derogatory's voice slithered back.
Maybe you should have thought about insurance. Life insurance.
The crate was pitch black. For a second, I couldn't tell if the voice was outside or inside with me. My palms pressed harder against the smooth walls. Was it crouched in here already? Grinning in the dark. "Oh, piss off, you knock-off Furby," I snapped, voice shaking. "Your shit won't work on me." Its fur bristled against my leg.
Oh, I know.
It purred.
You're not my type.
"What the hell's that supposed to mean?" I hissed, more offended than I should have been. Then, from outside the crate, another voice, lower, amused, drifted in.
You're used to hearing that, aren't you?
It chuckled. The walls vibrated with their laughter, one close, one far, like stereo speakers playing two different nightmares.
Look at her, all tough talk.
The inside one sneered.
She's shaking so hard the box is humming.
Not fear, I shot back. Rage.
Rage?
The outside one repeated, almost kind.
That's adorable. Rage is just grief wearing someone else's coat.
My throat tightened. Jordan! Joke's over! Let me out! It's like a coffin in here! I shouted again. I slid down the wall, knees scrunched up to my chest. The demogatory scrambled onto my legs and leaned close. I swear I felt its breath brush my ear.
You don't remember, do you? You never remember. That's the joke.
The barrage of abuse in stereo followed. First, it told me I'd always been here, that I was born in Elmwood, that the town was hiding the truth from me. Then another voice, a second demogatory, whispered the opposite, that I wasn't from here. I shimmied back up to my feet, knees cracking from the pressure, and felt along the walls again, higher, fingers skimming the surface until... There, a seam. Thin, just above my eye line. I pushed, it gave with a soft click, and a hatch slid open just wide enough to let in a strip of cold air. Problem was I wasn't tall enough to see through it. Figures, I muttered. Elmwood builds you a prison, then makes sure you're too short to even enjoy the view. The demogatory scuttled closer, tail flicking, its voice dripped with mock sweetness.
Maybe if you laid off the diner pies, you could jump for it.
I clenched my jaw. Oh, piss off. You're a glorified dust bunny with teeth, it chuckled.
Dust bunny that knows your weight better than your doctor.
I rolled my eyes, planted my boot square on its back, and hauled myself up toward the hatch. It gave out a squeak. I pressed my face to the hatch, breath fogging the cold metal. Basement. That's what it looked like. Concrete walls lost behind a jungle of wires. They hung in thick loops and coils, some glowing faintly, some pulsing like veins. It didn't feel like a room. It felt like I'd been dropped inside the belly of a server rack, one wired to something that wasn't built by people. And then I saw it, a sheep, just wandering past like it had no idea where it was. Wool patchy, eyes glassy, hooves clicking against concrete that had no business being under livestock. The demogatory outside the crate lunged. I couldn't see it clearly, only the shadow, the blur of teeth, the spray that followed. The sheep didn't even bleat. 1 second, it was there. The next, blood painted the crate walls from the gap in the hatch, streaking across my hands. The demogatory chuckled, wet-mouthed and satisfied.
Better than toast in the bathroom,
it sneered. I staggered back, hand over my mouth. Fenwick's sheep, the ones that had been disappearing every Thursday. I'd just watched where they went, and worse. What was waiting for them? Jordan came back then. He stepped right into the mess, boots sliding on the blood.
Bloody hell!
He hissed, catching himself on the wall. For a second, his whole villain act slipped. He yanked the tea towel off his shoulder and flung it at the demogatory.
Clean that up, you filthy beast.
The creature caught it in its claws, tilted its head, and grinned too wide.
says the man who sleeps in dirt and calls it a throne.
I couldn't help it. A sharp laugh burst out of me, ugly and too loud in the box. Looks like even your pets think you're pathetic, I said. He shot me a look that could have set timber alight.
You're not special, Mara. You're necessary. That's all.
He started pacing, talking like I wasn't even there.
Elm Wood needs hosts. It needs vessels strong enough to carry what's coming. The demogatories aren't the goal. They're tools. Little parasites, gnawing at the edges of sanity, wearing down Joe Public until there's enough room in their pathetic little minds for something better to take hold.
His voice dropped, almost reverent now.
But you're different.
He stepped closer to the crate, his breath fogging in the chill air.
The others crack. They rot. But you...
He smiled, like he was looking at something holy.
You stayed. You endured. You're the circuit we've been waiting for.
Then the smile snapped, his eyes sharp again.
Don't get confused, though. You're not chosen. You're not special.
His words spat like acid.
You're necessary. That's all.
He straightened, pacing again, hands clasped like a priest mid-sermon.
It all ends with you. You are the final piece, the missing wire. If you can just remember, then Elmwood gets rewired for good.
I snorted. What the fuck are you on? Seriously? Did you skip your meds, or did your cult newsletter come with a free thesaurus this month? The demogatory snickered from the shadows, tail flicking. Jordan didn't laugh. If anything, he leaned in, eyes lit with something that made my stomach twist.
You can mock all you like, Mara. It doesn't change what you are.
I tilted my head, smirk pulling a little too tight. Oh yeah? And who am I exactly? Enlighten me, Professor, because last I checked, I'm just the poor bastard you call when your toaster throws a tantrum. The demogatory chuckled low, the sound sticky and wet. Jordan didn't laugh. He just leaned close to the crate, eyes gleaming in the low hum of the machine.
You're not the help, Mara. You never were. You're the fuse. The one thing that still connects it all. And until you remember, nothing moves forward.
He straightened, voice dropping to a whisper.
It all ends with you.
Something snapped behind my eyes, not pain, more like static cracking through old film. Flashes, wires sparking in the rain, my hands shaking as I tightened a breaker. The blackout. 2009. I was there. The box shuddered, sparks crawling up its seams. Jordan leaned in, eyes wide.
Yes. Yes.
Then from outside, a sound, low, heavy. Something moving past the shed. The sparks died, my breath evened. The memories slipped away like water through a drain, replaced by painful static. Jordan's face twisted.
What an anticlimax.
From inside the box, the demogatory snorted.
That's what she said.
Another voice, the one outside, chimed in, laughing.
Classic.
Jordan stormed off red-faced toward the noise, cursing under his breath, boots stomping through the blood. The door slammed, and I was alone again, almost. The crate hummed low. The air inside felt charged, like it was waiting for me to slip. Every time I blink, I see another flash, wires, rain, a breaker arcing white in the dark. My head's pounding, like something inside is trying to break out. I've got my phone. Signal's shit, but I've been pushing this out in chunks whenever I can catch a bar. If you're reading this, it means some of it's getting through. Basement, crates, Jordan fucking Johnson. The sparks are back. Little blue veins running across the walls whenever the memory pushes harder. I don't know how much longer I've got in here. If this cuts off, just know. Elmwood doesn't let you go, and every time I remember, the box remembers too.
Hey everyone, thanks for listening to tonight's Elmwood story. All these tales are written by me, so if you like them and want to see where this town goes next, stick around. And here's your fun fact for this evening. One lightning bolt contains enough energy to toast 100,000 slices of bread. Great, now I'm hungry.